I'm gonna talk about dating, and I'm gonna talk about cheating. I've been pondering on these things for the last few days, and I really, really want to get y'all perspective on it, and so I'm gonna get right to it, man. Appreciate y'all that's tuning in. So I'm gonna start off, man. I'm gonna talk about dating, and one thing I noticed versus the U.S. versus a lot of these other countries that we frequent is that the dating dynamic is different when the environment is more matriarch versus a patriarch, meaning, basically a society that caters more towards women versus a society that caters more towards men. So in the United States, and this is, this is what I noticed, when I was dating and things of that nature, and other guys can attest to this, or even on dating sites, when it comes to the conversation or getting to know someone, women get very, very turned off when it comes to conversation about sex. You know, so that's what I'm gonna kind of lead with first. If you initiate a conversation, whether you're on a date or talking to someone on a dating site, like if you mention anything about sex, like women are immediately turned off. And so in the Matrix USA, in this matriarch, for whatever reason, women do not grasp the concept of how men think, nor care. They have this automatic assumption that men should view things the way they view it, instead of accepting that men, I'm generalizing, that men have their own way of thinking. What's important to us initially is very different than what's important to a woman initially. Case in point, shout out to Bert. What up, Bert? A lot of guys been on this. You go on, let's say you meet a chick, you go out on a date. She has initial interest in you. You have initial interest in her. All she's thinking about is checking the boxes on her checklist. Most of the time she don't really give a fuck about what's important to you. She has no idea what's important to you. So she's already coming to the situation with this false hope or false sense of what a man should be looking for. So y'all gonna be sitting at dinner. She's gonna be asking you questions like, okay, what do you do? She might ask you about, your last relationship. She's gonna ask questions to kind of gauge your personality traits. But we're gonna be sitting there like, in our head, like, can you suck some dick? Like that. In our head, that's what we're thinking about. We're thinking about all the sexual things that's important to us, you know. But we have to sit back and take the shit that they want to cover, and it makes that's why a lot of dating. That's why dating is disappointing for men and women, because women go into it with an expectation of that, men should care about certain things. Just like when it comes to things with women with education, it's like, okay, men should care about my education or care about my accomplishment versus caring about how fat how fat my ass is. You know what I mean? So women get annoyed and frustrated about it, but when it comes to women overseas, they don't get frustrated at all. Like, it's women. I remember like just chatting with women in different countries, and like, you could tell a woman overseas, or let's say Africa, or you could say, man, like, I really like, you really got a nice ass. You might not say ass, but you might use a different word, or butt or whatever. Like, you got a nice ass. The Nigerians say nyash. She has nyash, which means she got like a big butt. And women they're not offended by that. They're like, wow, like they find that as a compliment. Um, Guys could attest to, like, especially if you've been to Brazil or even like some countries in Africa. I'm not going to be specific. I'm not going to say specific countries, but women initiate the conversation with sex a lot of times before men do, and so it's a totally different experience when it comes to that. Um, it's frustrating for men in the matrix. It could be the U.S., it could be the U.K., it could be Australia, that we can't really express to a woman what's important to us. Because once you start talking about sex, some women, they were like, guys are, they're pigs, they're disgusting. All they do is think about sex. They don't care about, our character, what we bring, what we could bring to the table. And it's like, why do y'all get so frustrated over the nature of a man? So that's something that really bothers me, about it. And so a lot of times women, they get turned off by just men in general, and they just have a bad attitude when it comes to men. And then they say dating sucks because all men it just want is what's between their legs. Now a man wants to know that a woman is going to be able to meet his sexual desires. He's going to be physically attracted to. Once that is covered, then yes, other things are important to us. Can you cook? Can you, what I mean? Are you a good communicator? How are you? How was you in your past relationships? I mean, those things are important to us too, but it's not important to us first. And so that's the difference. So in a matrix country, we have to give deference to the woman's needs first all the time. We have to sit through these interview like dates or discussions because we're in a society where they kind of have the leverage. So the way they want the conversation to go, we really have to kind of go with the way they want the conversation to go, because the social programming is such that, quote unquote, the women are the prize. I'm not saying that like I subscribe to that, but I'm just speaking on the reality of situation. And that's pretty much how simps approach the situation. Um, you even got women that get mad. You meet a woman on a dating site, she gets mad or annoyed that you want her to send you pictures of her. It's like, we want to know who we getting to know. Like, they want you to invest all this time, and they want you to be interested solely on personality. You want to send me, you want to show me just a face shot of you, your best face shot. What I mean, you want to see a full body picture. They like, why is that necessary? We can meet in part. You'll see me in person. Like, they wanna just show you part of the package, and want you to kind of go all in, and get frustrated that a man wants to see more before he invests his time, money, and energy to. So there's already a disconnect with that. And why do some women not want to do that? Why don't they want to send a full body picture, or why don't they want to show you multiple pictures of them so you can get an idea of what they look like? It's because either A, they're hiding something, or B, they're insecure. So if you're insecure with yourself, that's not something a man wants to be with anyway. Opposed to women in other countries, you ask for a picture. What I mean, a lot of us use WhatsApp. That you ask for a picture, they're gonna send you like they're gonna send you like 5 to 10 pictures. You're gonna be like, damn, okay. And they're gonna be and they're gonna send you pictures whether you find them attractive or not. You know what I mean? So you're gonna go into that situation knowing, okay, this is how she looks. So I know if I meet her in person, like, what I see on the photos is what I'm gonna see. And then sometimes, you have to do a video chat as well, because there are catfishes out there as well. So, but then again, even with the foreign chicks, asking a video chat is typically not an issue. You want a video chat with an American chick, they just, they're just kind of annoyed. And so that's one of the issues when it comes to dating in the Matrix, is like, women are just always annoyed at some shit. They're annoyed if you want to talk about sex. They're annoyed if you want to see more photos of them. They're annoyed if you want a video chat. So it's like, what's the point of me even trying to get to know you? And guys that haven't traveled, they need to know that the dating experience is so much different overseas. Just even the getting to know you stage is so much different than overseas. Let me see what I got else in the building. What up, Ron and Trials with Alex? What's good, man? Salute, salute. Uh, House of Lamar said they are annoyed with regular guys that they are attracted to. I mean, yeah, that's probably a good point. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is another problem. That is another problem with what women do. And this is when it comes to marriage. A lot of women get with guys, or give guys chances that they're not attracted to. You know, I'm gonna touch on that. In a minute. But yeah, that is a good point. But there is a lot of women, they don't deal with dudes they're attracted to. So that that is that is another issue. But one of the issues with dating in the United States is that I'm going to speak for the black community, is that most women have said that they feel like most dudes are not attractive. That's why only a small, let's say 20% of men that's highly sought, because they feel like most men are unattractive, whether it's financially or physically or both. And the hypocrisy, I ain't gonna say the hypocrisy, but the audacity is that women, on one hand, they will talk about how unattractive most men are, but then when you try to rate women, they will basically say all women are attractive. They will basically find something attractive about all women, whether it's their homegirls or any other one. They always uplifting the most unattractive one, the most woman we would think unattractive. They're always uplifting her to make her appear to be attractive. We have this everyone is a dime culture and things of that nature. But all women can be dimes, but then there's a discrepancy when it comes to how attractive men are. So what I mean. So I'm trying to call that out. Let's see. We got who else we got? I'm gonna see what I could catch while I'm driving. He says Steve Harvey is a multimillionaire. Shout out Big Mike, and still got cheated. What makes you think you as a regular dude will make a wife happy? That is a great point. And so let me kind of get into like marriage and divorce. So I kind of go back and forth in the dating. Um, so what made me think about this more is that um it was a woman on my Facebook, and she was complaining about how this guy that's married um made a pass at her. And she was just like, well, why? She like, oh, I hate when men that's married try to talk to me, or you hear this from a lot of women. Like, a lot of women get very disgusted in the matrix. Some women even like snap on you, you know what I mean, to damn near embarrass you. But women have a strong, uh, they feel very strongly about a married man, um, trying to cheat on his wife. Whether it's because of the sisterhood, they feel like, they feel like it's a part of them. Wherever the case may be, they get very angry, and they feel very angry about it. And so this woman made this comment. I mean, she made this Facebook post, and I made a comment, and I was like, well, I've traveled to many countries, and what I've noticed is that if a married man, if a woman knows a man is married and he approaches her, if she's not interested, she just won't be interested. She won't let it. It doesn't like bother her, because to them it's like that's his wife's problem, not my problem. And then another thing too is that women, and I'm generalizing, women in other countries, non-westernized countries, they don't get offended if a man that's married approaches them. I'm not saying it's about a right or wrong thing. I'm just calling out differences, and this is partly due to a lot of the countries that we frequent are more patriarch. So I want to talk about dating. Why dating is different too because of patriarchs. But um, so when it even comes to cheating in some of these foreign countries, if a man is, let's say if a man is married, women are not, they're not bothered, they're not as annoyed about it. It's just like if they're not interested, they're just gonna just not be interested. And then in some cases, women will be interested. They want to know. They want to have as much as you as they can. Whether you're looked at someone that can help them out, or someone that can be a companion, because sometimes some of these countries, more women are lonelier than others. They don't have a sim culture to depend on. So a lot of these foreign countries, they don't have a sim culture. um, men don't have the money to be simps, and you do have a lot of women that are lonely, that haven't gone on a date, or just have somebody to really talk to and things of that nature. So women are more open to being okay if you have a significant other. But I don't like the fact that women get so bothered by a married man approaching them, because it's not that's not your problem. If you're not interested, you're just not interested. But what's crazy thing with about cheating is that, and this is something I responded to, is like, we've seen enough information in the last few years that women cheat just as much, and in some situations more than men, across the board. So if women, and they file for divorce, 80% of the time, and all the situations I've seen where women file a divorce, every situation I know, these women had a boyfriend right after, or they made public their new relationship right after the divorce. So most women, when they are filing for divorce, they already have somebody already, or they have somebody in mind. So the cheating already occurred anyway. And this is another hypocrisy, is like, women get so offended if a married man cheats, but women cheat just as much as men. So in the matrix, it's like women want their cake and eat it too. They want men to play fair. We have to play fair. We have to be the ones that's loyal. We have to be the ones that's God fearing, right? That they use the slave master oppressor tactic about with religion. They'll say God fearing because if you fear God, that means that you're going to be conscious about, doing anything that will not please God. So that's why when they say God fearing, they're saying they want God fearing because they're taking a slave master mentality. They're saying God fearing because they want to know that you're going to be subservient to, um, to the word. They're not going to be subservient to the word. They've already shown that they're not going to let the Bible. They're not going to let a Bible control them, but they want the Bible to control you. So everything about dating and the nature of the modern woman is about do as I do as I say, not as I do. So when it comes to cheating in marriage, women cheat. Let's just say whether it's 60-40, 51-49. Let's just say women and men cheat the same. Let's just say women and men cheat about the same, about 50%. So the only difference is when it comes to, let's say, in a marital situation or even a non-marital situation, men approach women. So women don't have to worry about offending a man if she's married, right? Because let me see where we at. I'm gonna try to catch up some of the comments, even though I'm driving. Wayne said they feel like you should want to spend the bag on them for the privilege to date them. Exactly. Um, Keeson said most of them got makeup, filters, fake hair, so full of shit. House Lamar said they want to be able to be fat and unattractive while getting men that are the best general that leaves regular guys with no one because a 2 will think they're a 10. That's facts. This is why I'm a monk in the Matrix. He said they're only angry if they aren't attracted to the guy that's cheating. Oh yeah, yeah. All right, I'm gonna try to catch up on the other comments. Yeah, so I'm seeing y'all make the comment about guys that's unattractive getting the short end of the stick. So y'all saying that guys that they find highly attractive get a pass. Okay, and it makes a lot of sense. So when it comes to cheating, real quick, if a man cheats, a man has to approach a woman to cheat, right? So this is what a man has to go through, right? So if a man wants to cheat, most likely it don't matter how attractive he is. Most likely a man has to still approach a woman if he's married in a relationship, right? And so a man runs the risk of a woman. Well, one she's not interested. She probably wouldn't be interested if he was married or not, right? So that's one chick. And then you got the other chick that she would be interested if you were single, but since you're married, she's not interested. So you're gonna run into that. Then you're gonna run into the chick she's gonna try to publicly embarrass you, or she's just gonna try to embarrass you. So if let's say God forbid you approach a chick in a public setting and you married, there's some chicks out there that'll probably try to cuss you out or shame you or she'll probably try to cuss you out. So you run the risk of a chick trying to publicly embarrass you. Or let's say if you message the chick or something like that, she might send a message expressing her vitriol about that. So men have to um go through all those possibilities if they're trying to approach a woman and they're in a situation. And so women is different. So when a woman wants to cheat, she don't have to approach nobody. all the men, all the men will approach her. It's like she has to do nothing different. Men approached her before she got a relationship. Men approached her um, while she in a relationship. So when a woman cheats, she's not even she doesn't even have to ruffle the feathers of a man. And while women get annoyed that a married man approaches them, women have the luxury of not having to approach men. I will say this as a kind of as a disclaimer. So, I'm not I don't promote or advocate any sort of cheating. I'm just speaking on the reality of the situation. So I think that if you're married, I do think that it is disrespectful to your wife to approach women, because if you're a married man getting rejected, not only you embarrass yourself, you embarrass your wife, because this woman has basically her rejecting you. If your wife seen her rejecting you, it's basically showing your wife that you have no value, or you're not worth. What I mean, you're not worth being with. And so you shouldn't even really be approaching women if you're married. You could probably say, I don't want to say in a non-marital situation, because those situations are not meant to be forever until you solidify. But yeah, I do think it is disrespectful to approach another woman. And another thing too, and I'll talk to guys about this, is that you give a woman you basically give a woman clout. If she knows you're married, it gives her clout by saying, like, this married dude tried to talk to me. It wants she has one up on your wife if you approach her, because she's like, you did all this vetting, all this process to marry this woman, but I was able to grab the attention from your wife, and to have you interested in me. So women get a huge, even while some women get offended, some women, it really gives them a lot of clout. And that further embarrasses your wife, because if she knew your wife, she could always in the back of her mind know your husband, um your husband chose me to disrespect you with, so to speak. So I would say if you couldn't help, but if you couldn't help, if you're going to step out, you should be only dealing with women that approach you. Now, the likelihood of that happening is slim to none, because if you wasn't getting approached before marriage, then most likely you're not going to be getting approached during marriage. But I would say, in my opinion, it's a softer blow. Is less, is not as disrespectful if you let a woman get at you, because at the end of the day, that's what women do. Women wait for dudes to get at them for the most part. So a woman can't make the argument about men, cheating in marriage, because women do it just as much. And I'm sorry, if men took the same approach women do, which is just let that person get at you, then you pretty much on the same, um, you pretty much on the same playing field when it comes to women. Now, the only difference is that in the United States, in the Matrix, you're not gonna get you're really not gonna get women interested in you if they see a ring on your finger. But internationally, internationally, women will show interest. Women will still show interest. So that is a big difference. Now, why women still show interest in these other countries? Um, and I'm going to tie in patriarch versus matriarch. Let me see if I can catch up. And some uh, House of Malamar says some want polygamy. Big Mike said abroad, if a woman is over 30, she's considered useless for marriage. That's true. He said past 25, they're considered unmarriageable in other countries. Big Mike said women cheat significantly more than men. They are able to hide it effectively than men. Yeah, and men typically don't snitch. Women will definitely snitch to try to protect this sisterhood. Big Mike also said women will give unattractive guys the benefit of doubt, but long term they will cheat on these guys with the personal trainer, the chef, vice president, spawn the programmer what it do. And then Big Mike said this is why back in the day cheating had severe consequences. Yeah. So when it comes to these international countries and the Matrix USA, there is a clearly patriarch versus matriarch. So the common word that I could compare those two is the prize. In matrix countries, women are considered the prize. So when somebody's considered a prize, they can get away with more shit. They can get away with more shit. That's what it boils down to. Um, women that are married don't have a problem still attracting men. Men simp over these women in the Matrix. Women control the dating. Uh, they control the dating process. They control the conversation for the most part. In a matriarch and a patriarch, men are the prize. So when you have, yeah, and like, speaking to like women in Africa, for example, a lot of them say when it comes to marriage, they say that it is my dream. They say it is my dream. Now, when a woman says that, that has a lot of weight because you don't hear that. You don't hear that in westernized countries. Some women, do like the idea of marriage, or maybe they just fantasize about the wedding. Um, and maybe it's something they do want to accomplish, but they will never describe being married as a dream. When I heard women say that, and especially in Africa, they like, man, it is my dream to get married. When something is your dream, that means you will do anything within your boundaries to obtain that. Women. I remember speaking to a woman, and she was like, she can't wait till the day a man is willing to pay the lobola for to her family to get married, and which is pretty much like a dowry in some countries. It is a very accomplishment for a daughter to be able to have a man that wants to marry her. That is something that would make her mother and father proud. So a lot of women, it is their dream, and so that in itself makes men in a lot of those countries looked at as the prize. And so, especially when you got countries where, let's say, polygamy might be accepted, if you're a married man, a lot of times you're more attractive than a single man because they're looking at you as marriage minded. They look at you as having some form of stability, and they look at it that if your wife slips up, that they want to position themselves to be to be chose. I'm generalized. I'm not saying, most women have that, but you can find a lot of that women that will um, accept a man as married because of how a man is viewed in that society. So the patriarch dynamic is a game changer for a lot of men, and this is why a lot of men have gotten their passports and decided to date and or marry and live overseas because most men want to be in a patriarch society where they are the prize. And you see a lot of women that talk about passport bros. They'll say, these men, they just want somebody to chase after them and blah blah blah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Why can't we think we're the prize? Just like they want to feel like they're the prize. Why come? Well, I'm sorry. Now I said why come? How come we can't have that mentality? And so I have that mentality. Um, women have spread the mentality of women should be the prize. Um, that's probably what I've heard about that Barbie movie, which I'm not gonna see, but that was the propaganda they're trying to push. I'm trying to say, you know what, man, we are the prize, and unfortunately, you have to experience that in other countries. And the dating coaches will say, well, if you look the par and make a certain amount of money, you're the prize in the U.S. To a certain extent, yes, but it only works if you're not trying to get married or have a child. Now, we'll use Future for example, right? Future, Future can run through women. He could be looked at as a highly sought male. He does have children, but he's not trying to get married. He's not trying to get married because as soon as if he marries some woman, she's not going to want to share him. She's going to know everything that comes with Future. He's going to marry her, and then her ego is going to be hurt if he cheats on her. And then she's going to be trying to take him to the bank. So yes, men. I always said this. Men, yes, you have the most leverage and power when you're not married or don't have children. But what a lot of men, most men, do want to have a child. So they want to have a child. A lot of times they want to do it the right way and get married and do it like that because every man can't go overseas and start a family. So some men have to try to figure it out. But you lose power, you lose leverage once you have a child in the U.S. or in the Matrix. You lose leverage once you get married. You lose leverage. So the dating coaches can say, well, you can have all the money and you can be in the best shape you could be. Yeah, yes, you will run through women. You will have lots of sex. I do not disagree with that. But a lot of men just don't want to do that for the rest of their lives. A lot of men don't want to put themselves at that risk too. You don't want to be STDs is higher now. If you have money and you're very attractive and you're able to sleep with a lot of women, most likely you're not going to be strapping up with every woman. You might strap up with most, and there might be some women that you might just get caught slipping in, and then at some point could be running to the clinic for something that's an easy fix or a permanent issue. And so a lot of men, they say, it's just better to slow down and settle down, but you do that as a risk. So I just think the strategy of waiting until waiting the strategy of trying to be the best version of yourself financially and physically, it just has its limitations. It just has its limitations when you want to have children, want to get married. So you don't want to limit yourself as a man, even if you're not looking for marriage, even if you're not looking to have children. You want to be in the best situation where you have you have the option to get married, or you have the option to have children without losing your status of being a prize, or having any type of leverage like women do in the matriarch USA. Let me see who else we got in the building. Um, Keeson said women in the States want weddings, not to be married. That's facts. Big Mike said if you slip up in a relationship, your girlfriend or wife has a guy standby on a roster. That's facts. Neon Shades in the building says speaking facts. Yes, sir. Long time no see. He said, don't you think that I'm the prize is counterproductive? The marriage union should be the prize, not trying to sound corny. Yeah, I mean, ideally, both. You know, the union is a blessing in itself, and both men and women should be looked at equally as prizes. One should not be more than the other. Um, but most societies have either or. Either the male is a prize, or the woman is a prize. Um, Ethiopia was a country that was an exception. They have like a more of a ah, they have more of a matriarch where men get respect. It's a different dynamic. Um, it's hard for me to get into, but Ethiopia is a little different dynamic where it's pretty equal. It's like no man or woman is above each other. They're pretty equal in their culture when it comes to a lot of things. But yeah, unfortunately, in most countries, either the men or either the women is considered the prize. It is what it is. Um, I wanted to mention something real quick about what I noticed about unattractive, guys in unattractive situations. And it took me a while to kind of think about this. So you ever hear women, a lot of women say this too. Let's just say if you're a guy and let's just say you have failed marriages. Let's just say you had failed marriages or relationships. A lot of times a woman will say, well, you know, you might say the reasons why, and it might point to the female, but she's going to be like, well, in all those situations, the common denominator is you. Maybe the issue is with you, and not with the women. And so sometimes, and like I look at my personal situation, and I look at other guys, and I disagree with that. I disagree with the notion that something is wrong with him per se. I'm going to explain why. I know. Let's just say, I know someone that I grew up with, and they've been divorced a couple of times. They're not the most attractive either, but he's a good man financially, loyal, everything. I mean, he's a good man, and most of the situations ended. You know, sex was on the decline. She became less interested, and it was apparent that she wasn't attracted. The attraction isn't there anymore. And so, if every relationship he gets into, and it's kind of the same thing, I look at it. I don't think there's nothing wrong with him as far as personality wise. How he looks physically is only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do. And so I always say, always used to say it's the women that I chose. I don't, it's nothing wrong with me. It's the woman with that I chose, and that is what I see with a lot of men. A lot of men. We can say women date unattractive men, but we can also say men get with women that are, I don't want to say out of your league, because a lot of people will push back on me about that, but I can't think of a better way to put it. Some men date women that these women feel like they can do better. I'll say that. Not that they can do better, but a lot of women that think they could do better. So a lot of men get with women where you're not looked at as their best option. You're looked at as kind of like, you know, probably their last option, but not their best option. So when you as a man get with a woman that's, let's say, out of your league, or she feels like, or you're not her best option, then it is on you because you chose her. A lot of men don't get women that don't marry the women that's on they dick heavy. That's sweat them. A lot of men don't get the women that's really on them. And so yes, so some men that, let's say, the average woman might consider unattractive, a lot of times they get cheated on, or the relationship doesn't work, is because they got with a woman that really wasn't sweating them like that in the first place. So that's something that you can say as well. Um, yeah, and as far as doing something to make yourself more attractive, if you're making a lot of money, even if you're in shape, if a woman still finds your face unattractive, it's not gonna matter like what type of shape you in anyway. But to somebody's point earlier, women do make the decision to get with guys they're not attracted to, or date guys they're unattracted to. So that also makes dating in the Matrix USA, disappointing for both parties. And women, and like you said, women do cheat just as much as men, and a lot of their incentive to cheat is because they're with someone they're not attracted to. So I just want to put that out there. Let's see. Mr. G, what's good, bro? He said that's why Neon Shay said that's why we should target higher social class and women that aren't new to money abroad. Um, Social class, higher social class. I mean, if you want to say, if you go to a developing country like Brazil, or let's say third world. I know people don't like third world, but that's just how I'm going to describe country. Let's say Colombia, DR. Let's say some country in Africa. Even if you get a woman in a higher class of their society, their man gets first dibs on that. You know what I mean? Because they're going. You know what I mean? Those women are going to college with the men that they ought to be marrying in the first place, and so their local men, get to they get to them first. That's kind of like saying, that's kind of like expecting like Beyonce or or Kim Kardashian, or somebody from another country getting our top women. Our top women go to Americans across the board, whether it's black women that's doing it, white women, or in between. Our women, our top women get American men get our top women. That's going to be like that for any country. If one of our top women decides or got married to a foreign man, that's just kind of an anomaly, you know. And so, the notion of trying to get the top women in other countries is cool if it's possible. we can definitely compete with those men, but ultimately, um, they don't really. They're gonna find what they want with their own men, and they're not gonna even be thinking about foreign men on their radar unless it just happened naturally or organically for that reason. And then another thing too is there's doctors and lawyers in Colombia and DR that still need you to help them with sending money. They don't make $100,000 a year in those countries. They're still probably making $20,000 a year. And a lot of times in their countries, there's prostitutes that's making more money than them. So, I mean, like financially, it's not it doesn't really help. It doesn't really help you that much anyway. Um, just based on what I observe.